It's bonus objective time! I wanted you to pick between 3 movies from the Canon Group, 2 of which are animal themed, but the one that wasn't got the most votes, and so we're looking at Masters of the Universe. Masters of the Universe is a live-action adaptation to the Mattel toy line of the same name. It's split between He-Man, Masters of the Universe, which is geared towards boys, and She-Ra, Princess of Power, which was marketed towards girls. Both center around one of 2 half-human, half-Eternian siblings who do battle against the forces of evil, all of which could be used to sell toys. Both had their share of comics and cartoons, especially from Filmation, and like other long-running series like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they had remakes like the 2002 He-Man and the She-Ra cartoon in 2018. But today we're going to be looking at the franchise's second movie, simply titled Masters of the Universe. As mentioned, this movie is from the Canon Group, which from 1967 to 1994 produced an impressive number of movies over that span, sometimes even releasing multiple movies within a single year. Going Bananas was one of their films that I reviewed before, and Masters of the Universe shares the same production duo of Globus and Golan. Their hands were pretty full, so imagine Mattel failing to fund half of the project on time. This would lead to some interesting choices regarding some scenes and a few characters. This doesn't fill me with confidence for the film's quality, but a recent viewing of the movie with friends made me realize that it's not as bad as it could have been, even if there are still plenty of issues. And to find those few bright spots, let's visit the Masters of the Universe. We begin with narration about the mythical Castle Grayskull.
The light and the dark stands Castle Grayskull. For countless ages, the sorceress of Grayskull has kept this universe in harmony. But the armies of darkness do not rest.
From how I remember from the cartoon, it looked more like a standard creepy castle that housed a tremendous power that He-Man and She-Ra can tap into. Here, it's a lot bigger and includes some future tech. I mean, the show is already sci-fi fantasy, but the castle isn't usually futuristic. And to be fair, this is one awesome painting. From what I could find, this might have been made by artist William Stout, the movie's production designer. So we have a very good impression from this movie. Further helping is the musical score by Bill Conti, which is eerily close to the John Williams music from the Superman movies. But sadly, this is the film's high point, so get ready to lower expectations. Sometime later, we see a bunch of soldiers, who all resemble Darth Vader, escorting prisoners as their leader has taken over Eternia. And their leader in question is none other than Skeletor, played by Frank Langella. And what can I say? He is tremendous in this movie.
Report, Evelyn.
Langella took the chance to be Skeletor when offered because his son was a fan of the character, and this is a very different interpretation of the character versus what you see in the 80s. That Skeletor was a bit of a goofy villain with that unique sounding voice.
Brainless idiots, you couldn't even beat a motley group of gnomes!
But this one is far more intimidating and threatening. He has just taken over Eternia, so the stakes are higher than ever before. Joining him is his loyal subordinate, Evil Lyn, played by Meg Foster. Originally, I thought it was pronounced Evelyn, but no, it's Evil Lyn.
Pretty clever, right? No.
By capturing Grayskull, Skeletor has a new and valuable prisoner, the Sorceress, played by Christina Pickles. Instead of having a bird motif, she's more like a white wizard. She tells him that he won't get Grayskull's power so long as He-Man lives.
People of Eternia, the war is over. My forces are victorious. Let this be my first decree. Those who do not pledge themselves to me shall be destroyed!
I must break you. So yeah, He-Man in this movie is played by Dolph Lundgren, who's best known for playing Ivan Drago from Rocky IV. Apparently, the director didn't like the performance, so the actor had to dub over himself later in production. As we get into this first action sequence, let me mention that Mattel wanted He-Man to avoid doing anything unseemly like swearing or killing people. Let's see how that goes. Clearly, He-Man is the Kiryu of this world. He doesn't actually kill people, even if it looks like he does. He's eventually joined by two of his allies, Man-at-Arms, played by John Cypher, and Teela, played by Chelsea Field. Together, they free one of the prisoners, Gwildor, played by Billy Barty. He's essentially our replacement for Arco, the little floating magician who served as comic relief in the 80s cartoon. But despite the $22 million budget that would have been impressive for the time, there wasn't much to spare for the little guy, so we got this.
Skeletor's forces were hunting me down. A million blessings upon you for saving my life.
This also means no Cringer, since the movie would need to use a real tiger and all that. This also means a ton of missing characters, even those like King Randor and Queen Marlena, who are important to the story without being particularly elaborate in design. Hell, He-Man never changes back to his normal self, Adam. Getting back on track, Gwildor takes our heroes to his place where he shows them an invention he made, the Cosmic Key. It can open a doorway to anywhere in the universe. But the one he made is a prototype, because he was tricked into making an actual one for Skeletor.
A woman came to see me. Said she heard about my fame as a locksmith. She seemed interested in my work. How could I know she was from Snake Mountain? She was beautiful.
That would be Evelyn.
She tricked me.
While our heroes could use the key to go directly to the sorceress and rescue her, doing so would give Skeletor the chance to track them down with his key and cause more problems. Not much time to think through as the bad guys found their hideout. He-Man and friends flee through a secret passage that takes them to Grayskull. They also reach the sorceress there, but Gwildor will need time to free her from the force field. Everyone else hides as He-Man confronts Skeletor. And between the music, the dialogue, and this really impressive set, this almost seems like the final boss battle.
Your wondrous sorceress will die. You dare threaten her life? I dare anything. I am Skeletor.
Yes, you are, Langella. Yes, you are.
The little worm has another key!
What? What? Kill him! Dr. Gwildor! Keep working!
Again, He-Man isn't killing anyone here. That one guy just fell over and rolled himself into the pit, so it's his own fault that he died. Another guy even jumps into the pit after getting hit. But our heroes are still outnumbered, so they have Gwildor open another door to somewhere else. He-Man wants to stay, but the sorceress tells him to retreat, telling him that he'll have until moonrise before she loses power. Gwildor almost loses the key when getting into the portal, but... almost lost the plot device. Skeletor tells his lackeys to monitor the key frequencies in case they use it to come back for the sorceress.
He-Man lives and possesses that key. I must possess all, or I possess nothing.
God, he's so damn cool! Our heroes finally arrive in a swampy area of some kind, and are not sure where the key is. Where did they end up?
By the sorceress, it's ugly.
It seems harmless.
Well, that could be a cow from another planet that has one, but no sense beating around the bush. They ended up on Earth. This does make sense as Earth is the homeworld for Queen Marlena, but there's a reason why the shows don't go there often. It's kind of boring. Masters of the Universe takes inspiration from both Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, with tons of fantastical locales and creatures that can lead to fun adventures. So unless you decide to have Batman or even Superman show up, like they seem to in the comics, what reason is there to have Earth be the setting? Well, I think we all know the answer. It's budget reasons. Most of it must have went into designing the interior of Castle Grayskull, the sci-fi tech, Gwildor's cave, and all the costumes and makeup. And when you consider how some of that budget was missing on Mattel's end, the Cannon Group had to stretch every buck and penny it had to compensate, which is in their wheelhouse since their movies were pretty infamous for being low budget anyway. For now, our heroes decide to split up and look for the key before they can properly plan to save their world. We cut to a Robbie's Ribs and Chicken restaurant where we meet our first Earthling character, Julie, played by Courtney Cox. She's moving to New Jersey soon, and so might have to have a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend Kevin, played by Robert Duncan McNeil. Despite everyone telling her to stay because that's what her parents would have wanted, she wants to move away and start fresh because her parents died.
Look, Julie, why don't you take a later flight, huh?
Kevin, let's start that again. We decided.
Okay.
I feel like we entered a completely different movie. Or I suppose our heroes just invaded the set of another. It's so jarring how we earlier had a serious, dark, yet somewhat campy tone earlier, and now it's just mostly camp with Earthworld shenanigans.
Good food.
Yes, I've never tasted anything like it.
It's just so strange. The instant we move away from the high fantasy setting, it becomes a fish out of water scenario. Moving on, Julie and Kevin are at the gravesite of her parents, and she actually suggests that she was responsible for them dying. But then they notice Gwildor's key, and their reactions are positive.
No, this is one of those new Japanese synthesizers. Here, let me try it.
It's the 80s, so I suppose they would think it's cool and not some strange device made by the government or something. As they play around with it, Skeletor's forces pick up the signal for a split second. It's not enough to trace, but they prepare an advance team to head out and see if they can pick it up again. He-Man is still looking for something to do, while the teens head to their school to try out the key with their music instruments. Kevin is part of a band, so it's fair to expect this sort of behavior. They're just lucky it's compatible with their instruments. If only they knew that they were starting more than just a light show. As for the evil advance team, we have Blade, played by Anthony DeLongis, and Sarad, played by Pons Mar, who are original characters for this movie, as is Karg, played by Robert Towers. Although there is a pet dragon in the show named Karg, the only returning character from the show is Beastman, who was supposed to be able to talk like in the original draft for this movie, but they reduced him to growls and such. Kevin decides to show the key to their friend Charlie at the music store, while Julie stays to say goodbye to her school one last time. But that's where the villains show up. They beat up the janitor, then proceed to attack Julie, since she might know where the key is. This movie is starting to get good again, and the only thing missing is...
Get away from me!
It's all right.
Yes, save her ass, Drago! Now, while I said that it was cheaper to use Earth-based sets, the Cannon Group is still putting in some effort there. I love the lighting in the junkyard since it adds a bit of atmosphere and allows for the buildup of tension. Then, when the fight breaks out, the choreography really shines through, with Sarad having retractable claws. Just anything with He-Man and crew is where the movie excels. Other times, it feels like a cheesy 80s movie with some teens finding an alien device and making rock music with it. It doesn't always work, though. And it's not what you'd expect from a He-Man movie if you watched the cartoons. Well, then again, with a movie you probably expect a bit more than with the cartoon. He-Man tells Julie about why they're here, and Julie points him to Kevin. So they're going to find him with a pink Cadillac that Gwildor found and upgraded. Yep, that sure is something. We're on the freeway of love in a pink Cadillac. Speaking of Kevin, he was actually heading back to school when he learned that a fire broke out there. He doesn't find Julie, and we're soon introduced to the third main Earthling of the movie, Detective Hugh Lubick, played by James Tolkien. He might be the best of the Earthling characters, or the worst because of the role he plays.
Telling you, we went through there with a police dog. The only stuff we found in there is right there. All right, I'll do something. I'll take you for a little ride. Let's go.
Oh, great. What are you doing? Are you arresting me?
Oh, we're gonna go look for your girlfriend, just like you said.
Like, his performance is pretty enjoyable, and the character seems to be competent at his job, yet he never stops to wonder if the situation he's in is normal, or if He-Man and company are from this planet. Also, I guess Kevin wanted to look out for Julie since it's suggested that he isn't in contact with her.
Kevin, this is Julie. What's going on?
Well, it's good to hear your voice too, but I've been really worried about Julie.
All right, just stay there. We'll be right there, okay?
Okay, look, if you talk to Julie, could you tell her that...
Wait a minute. This is the police. Who is this? Who is this?
I mean, you were with this guy who was likely to arrest you for any reason. I would hide where your friends are too. Meanwhile, the villains report back to Skeletor, who takes their failure well by zapping Sauron to death.
Get away!
Well, wouldn't be the first time he's sucked up to Skeletor. Evil Lyn decides to join them in hunting down our heroes. Back on Earth, Lubick decides to play with the key, so the bad guys know where they're heading next. We see Kevin putting leftover chicken in a microwave, and the bad guys seemingly mistake their machine for a jamming device, so...
Destroy it now.
That was pretty funny. As Lubick leaves with the key, since he needs it for the investigation, the villains show up and capture Kevin. They use a truth-telling collar on him to get him to talk about what he knows. Once they have the info, they leave. So He-Man and company find Kevin by himself with the collar. They free him from it and...
Julie! Julie, get out of here! Now!
Okay, must you all shoot at everything that seems threatening? What, do you believe in shoot first, ask questions later too? Our heroes convince Kevin that they're on the same side, and together they head to Charlie's place since that's where Lubick went. He thinks the key was a Soviet weapon or invention, and well, given the era this was made in, I'm not surprised he would think that. He-Man and the others make it, where Lubick is at his best? Worst?
We're not your enemies.
If you would just give us that, we would be very, very grateful.
You're not getting nothing till I get some answers.
He-Man! Someone's following us!
What the hell is that?
Look, if Ivan Drago tells you that something bad is coming while cosplaying as Conan the Barbarian, you should probably listen. Also, look at that awesome transporter. I mean, we saw it a few times before, but how much money do you think it would cost to make it? While He-Man and Man-at-Arms prepare for battle, Teela takes the others to safety. Gwildor works on the key to set a route back home, and it seems Kevin is able to help out because of... how his knowledge of music and its links to the universe? I don't know, fantasy jargon. The Vader troopers attack, and I'm not kidding about the Star Wars inspiration. Teela decides to go help, leaving Kevin with a pistol since they don't trust Lubick alone with a gun. Though all he does is be an idiot and try to arrest everyone on one charge or another. Then Julie sees someone outside. It's her mother! She's alive! Somehow!
But the plane... Oh, I'm so sorry I had to go through all of that, Julie. But we had to disappear. We're doing very important, very secret work.
What, were you secretly making a formula to create superhumans like in that one Amazing Spider-Man movie? Yeah, I know where this is going. She tells Julie that they need the cosmic key, and Julie stupidly delivers it to her. Or should I say, Evil Lyn?
Thank you, my darling.
Our heroes give chase, while Lubick decides to be an idiot.
I got a shot.
What a shock! Evil Lyn uses the key to signal her location so Skeletor can use his to enter Earth. He comes with a battalion of bad guys on flying saucers and his own transporter. It's all very cool looking, and I only wish this was all set outside of Earth. Anyway, two of the Fly Guys find our heroes. These were robots the entire time, so they don't count as alive? Yeah, I don't think Mattel cared at this point. He-Man shoots another minion and steals their saucer, and he seems to be holding his hands like he's controlling the saucer with some kind of steering device that's not even visible at all. Maybe it's motion-based. Either way, he zaps more baddies, steals the key back, and starts his pursuit that leads him into the maws of Skeletor. He has He-Man's allies and friends as hostages, and Julie is inflicted with some kind of curse that leaves her for dead. But Skeletor offers a deal. If our hero surrenders to Skeletor and becomes his slave, the other good guys get to live. He-Man accepts the terms.
This is our fight. I don't want innocent people to die.
Well said.
So they go back to Eternia while leaving the others on Earth. But because of what the bad guys did to Julie earlier, she's on the verge of death. They need to get to Eternia to save her, and Kevin gets started by attempting to fix the key with the memory of the tones it made to get to that place.
That's it! That's it! How did you do that?
I don't know. I just, if I hear a tune a couple of times, I can usually remember it.
Why didn't you tell me you were a song maker?
I don't buy it. He's a musician, nothing more. Meanwhile, the villains return to Grayskull, and in a blink or you'll miss it moment, this little pig man is actually a kid who won a contest by Mattel to be in the movie. Of course, the movie was almost done at that point, so they stuck him here rather than on Earth. Skeletor finishes his takeover plan by using He-Man's sword to channel the power of Grayskull. But first, a whipping. Yeah, move into that whip, He-Man. Show some thighs, why don't you? Kevin brings Gwildor a keyboard to use before talking a little with Julie. Here is where she admits her love to him and that they should stay together. Lubick finds them and prepares to come along just as they finish getting the key to work. At this point, Skeletor is ready to conduct his plan to absorb the power of the universe for all to see. It's certainly a glorious moment, even if it's evil winning. And the speech he gives, although a little too long-winded, is almost spine-chilling.
You are no longer my equal. I am more than man, more than life.
But his new golden suit leaves so much to be desired. Seriously, he's like a knockoff Galactus. Although that's kind of fitting since this movie takes some inspiration from the works of Jack Kirby. Anyway, the rest of our heroes arrive to fight Skeletor and save He-Man. Even Lubick, who while still weirded out, decides screw it, he's gonna help.
Alright, Speakers, you wanna play games?
I've got a shotgun.
He-Man uses what strength he has to knock over a statue to get across to get his sword. And even though Skeletor is still winning, Evil Lyn decides to leave with the remaining mercenaries. He-Man holds aloft his magic sword and says, and as the final battle begins, you'll notice that the lights have dimmed. That is because production ran out of money by this point, and Lundgren had to actually dip into his own pocket to keep it going. It actually looks cool, given how the light effects are in this scene. Anyway, He-Man breaks Skeletor's staff, which turns our big bad back to normal. Fight over?
For you.
Aw man, he's still a threat, even without his cosmic powers? Who would have guessed? But it's kinda anticlimactic. He-Man almost loses his sword, is backed into the edge of a pit, then recovers to knock Skeletor into said pit for a slow-mo fall. Oh hey, the power's back on. So the sorceress is saved, the power of the universe is restored, Julie is healed, off screen, and in that same time frame, Lubick decides to hang out in Eternia.
I got a castle, I got a view, I got clean air, I got a beautiful woman, huh?
Sure. The sorceress gives the teens a small token of appreciation so that Eternia will always be near them. Because it's time to say goodbye after all, and end this journey. But as Man-at-Arms says,
There's an old Eternian saying. Live the journey, for every destination is but a doorway to another.
And while it would be fine to let Julie learn about accepting death and becoming stronger for it, we get the one cop-out moment when Julie quickly takes up Gwildor's offer to go back in time, at the last possible second, to the day when her parents would have taken that plane. She takes the keys, after talking to them a bit, and I guess that stops them from taking the trip, so both parents are saved from their deaths. She then catches up with Kevin, who remembers everything they went through, by showing her the stuff given to him by the sorceress. They're back together again, even though they could have done that without the last-minute revival. So ends Masters of the Universe. Its production problems are very noticeable, and the plot doesn't know what tone it exactly wants. But with that said, I honestly believe this is a better movie than some make it out to be. Sure, it's campy as hell, even in the more serious moments, and yet we get some great performances from both He-Man and Skeletor. Frank Langella deserves a ton of credit for offering a new but compelling interpretation of an iconic villain. He's imposing, a menace, and he almost wins in the end. His evil army is just as imposing, and had they not gone to Earth for most of the movie, I would have loved to see what they could have done with the He-Man stuff. The supporting cast can be enjoyable at times, though your mileage may vary, especially with Lubick. Beyond that, the music score is really good, and the Eternian sets and props are well done. They must have been really hopeful about this movie, because this is one of the first movies, that I know of, to feature a post-credit scene that the MCU made common.
I'll be back.
No, you won't, because the movie flopped, grossing only $17 million and receiving harsh reviews from critics. A common complaint is the failure to respect the source material, and given the other canon group flops like Superman 4 and Life Force, it forced the company to close down in 1994, despite having a ready script for a He-Man sequel. On the flip side, they did use it and whatever props they had for it for another movie, Cyborg. It's a shame because there was potential with this movie despite its limitations. And I guess many people found some good in it because it's now a cult classic. It really goes to show that while canon films might not always have the best movies, every now and then you get one with just the right cast and story to make even a cheaply made movie special. I'm the Media Hunter. Media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.